What's up, you guys? It's so good to be back after a brief holiday break. I'm really pumped about this new year. I want this to be your last year in the classroom. And I wanted to give you a heads up that if you are wanting to transition out of teaching this year, you want to get started as soon as possible. I know many of us are thinking about teaching contracts and finishing out the school year and not leaving our kids high and dry, but you also have to look out for yourself, and you matter. It could take a couple of months, it can take longer than that to fill these positions. And so you want to get a head start as soon as possible. But not only is the timeline important for that reason, getting started quickly is imperative because you need the experience writing those job application documents. And that's your resume, that's your cover letters, that's what you want to say in your interviews. I know you're going to have talking points ready for that, right? So the more experience you have creating those job documents, the better off you're going to be. So, think of it as like a first draft and go through that application process, see what it's like. If you can get an interview, getting interview experience is amazing. And it's okay to go through the process and then decline a job for whatever reason that you have. So don't be afraid. Don't really belabor the timing issue. Jump right in there. And as always, I'm here to support you. So do reach out. I'm Julie at whatsnextteacher.com. Or find us on the web at whatsnextteacher.com and on Instagram at whatsnextteacher. Subscribe and keep tabs on what we're doing and what we've got for you. This week's episode is a really interesting one. It's the story of Angela G. Angela was in a really toxic teaching environment and ended up creating a fitness business. She's an entrepreneur now that was rooted in her time in the classroom. She was organizing fitness classes for her teacher colleagues, and it ended up evolving into her business. And she's got a thriving entrepreneurial venture now. So, very inspiring. But do know that there's some colorful language in this episode. So if you have virgin ears or children in the car, you might want to be aware of that. But with that, let's jump right in.
This is the What's Next Teacher podcast with your host, Dr. Julie Warner.
Here you'll hear from former teachers who have left the classroom for thriving careers in and outside of education to help you picture yourself on the other side and land the job of your dreams.
If you're feeling confused about what to do next, stuck, or fearful about paying the bills, What's Next Teacher has your back.
Now here's your host, Dr. Julie Warner.
Well, I'm really excited today to be able to talk to Angela. She's going to tell you all about her journey from teaching in a toxic environment, I think she would say, and into a new life as an entrepreneur. And I'm really excited because I haven't yet talked to anyone that's hung their own shingle. And I think a lot of my listeners are very curious about what that life is like. So welcome, Angela. If you want to tell us about what you taught and what your teaching career was like up until you decided to move on.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm super excited to be here, and I hope anybody is listening who can just take a tidbit of inspiration that you are in control of your life and you are powerful and you are worthy and you are magical. I hope that my story can inspire you to just feel that a little bit. Yeah. So, woo, all right, let's talk about it. I was teaching for about 12 years. I taught high school English. I've taught everything from 7th grade to 12th grade. And I taught in Boston for 9 of those 11 years. And yeah, oh man, it was not a good experience for me. let me separate that. I think as a whole, it was so not right for me. It wasn't the right fit for who I am as a person, what I wanted my life to be, how I wanted to show up. And I didn't know that at the time of my teaching career, which was why it was so toxic, because I spent most of my teaching career being like square peg, round hole, and I didn't know that's what that was. Um, but the kids were so great. I loved my students. I still talk to them. I was young when I started teaching, so some of my students are in their mid 30s, and we're friends. Like, I've gone to baby showers and weddings, and I flew out to Hawaii last Christmas to spend Christmas with a former student who's in the military. And I was like, yeah, girl, I ain't doing anything. I'll come out. So I'm going to weddings. Like, it's beautiful. And those relationships are just so valuable. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough because my life was starting to just not be mine.
Yeah, what were
Um,
the hardest things for you to kind of stomach, or what structurally did you feel like wasn't a good fit for you?
I'm a lot. I'm a lot. And I don't say that as like a bad thing. Like, I'm a rock star, and I am loud and I'm creative. Like, I just couldn't, and I'm a tell it like it is, like, kind of gal. If I don't like something, I'm going to say it. And I'm just a little rough around the edges with a big heart. And sometimes, like, I'd have to stifle myself and like worry about my delivery. And it just felt really inauthentic for me to be like, okay, everybody, let's get our pencils down in three. Like, I wouldn't, could I swear? Or
Yeah, that's yes,
no, okay.
definitely.
So, okay, cool. I would never fucking say that in a million years. Like, I would be like, yo, what are we doing? Put your pencils down. We're done. And I was a little tough. I was a little tough. And I'm not for everybody. I'm
I
not for
didn't
every
like that
student.
either, like, having to
Yeah.
have sort of a fake persona. And there's this
Hmm.
whole thing too where you're out in the community and you have to act a certain way. It's like,
No.
why can't I just be myself? And people are, peering into your grocery cart, and
Hmm.
it just felt
Yeah.
very strange to have to
Oppressive.
kind of put on a front. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So I felt like what I was wearing, like, why are you wearing that? Like, tone it down. Like, I'm wearing like high heels and a fitted skirt because I'm a boss, and I feel confident. And why is there judgment around that? I'm demanding and I'm tough. And I also look back on some of that too. And it started to get toxic because the work environment was just so toxic to me, and I was toxic internally. So yeah, I think the biggest struggle was that I wasn't meeting like these expectations of the school, of the system of education. And what I was doing was internalizing it and saying, I'm not enough. There must be something wrong with me because I can't make this fit. Because I'm looking around and I'm like, everybody loves this. What's wrong with me? There must be something wrong with me that I can't make it work. And that over time just it's like an abusive relationship. It just eroded my confidence, it eroded my self-worth. And when you start teaching at like 22 years old, you really don't have any semblance of that to begin with. So you're letting the job and the outside environment kind of dictate that to you. So it was a lot. And I think after 5 years I started just the decline. So I think maybe 7 years, I was on like a steady trajectory of my mental health was declining because I felt worthless. I was stressed out. I was doing more. I felt like I was constantly proving myself only to fail, only to be told that I was wrong. And I felt like none of the good stuff that I was doing was ever getting recognized. And yeah, and I was at a really low point where, because I was so like resentful to myself and like had so much self-hate around me, like I couldn't do this, like what's wrong with you, and I kept like negatively talking to myself. I started having like emotional outbursts and breakdowns in the classroom,
Yeah, and I think
at the
like
kids, at myself. Like, I was unwell. I was unwell.
that's natural, right? And I wonder, how was that your first job sort of like out of the
Yeah,
gate? What was mine?
I taught at one school for like a year, and then I moved to Boston, and I think I was like 25.
Yeah, so we
Like a
don't really have
baby.
anything to compare it to. Like you think like, oh,
No.
this is work, this is what people are bitching about. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
no.
this is just how it is. And I just remember being like, I want to work in a place where people do this. And I just remember some of the other like curmudgeon teachers would just be like, that's not how it is. You're good luck. All jobs are like this. And now that I've been out of the classroom almost 6 years, I'm like, no, it's really not like that at all.
Yeah, there's a lot
It's
of
really not.
brainwashing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like indoctrination into this, like negative indoctrination, and it revolves. It's like dangling a carrot like in front of you and pointing the finger, just be like, you want this? Well, you're not good enough. And it's a moving target that you're never going to get, you know? And when they
Yep.
hire you young because they can pay you little to nothing, um, it's it's kind of fucked up. Just
Yeah,
like
it is.
how it works.
They think that they too can pull one over on you because you're young, you're naive,
Yep.
we don't have a lot of experience in the real,
Yeah.
in our career yet. So we think that
Yeah.
there's like
And
some
you're not
veracity to
vested
that. Yeah.
and you're not vested and you're not tenured, so like
Oh
you
yeah.
can get fired, you don't know, you don't have that job security, so and you're also broke,
Yeah.
so it's like I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll take $300 to be this advisor here, I'll take $1,000 to coach over here, I'll do this, and then your like bucket is overflowing with shit that you're doing for the school and for the students, and it's still not enough. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, and
um
I love that you say for the students because that's always the excuse, right? It's like
for the
they'll
kids, I'm here for the
abuse
kids.
you, but it's for the kids, so swallow it and be the
Mhm.
sacrificial lamb.
Mhm. And I had a moment, like, when I don't know, can I get into that? Like, what my, like, moment was of breaking? Should I
Yeah,
wait for that?
because I'm wondering that because if, how did you have any clarity? I didn't have clarity for so long. How did you figure
Yeah.
this out?
My dad died suddenly, and I was trying to call him throughout the day. Like, I was like, "Oh, I felt it. I felt something in my heart be like, I gotta call my dad." And I couldn't because I had classes. And then I was literally about to call him, and my boss came in to talk to me about something I was doing wrong and something that I needed to be doing. Um, and I got the call a couple hours later that he died and he dropped dead. And I didn't get to call him. I didn't say goodbye. He just died of an aneurysm. And that's nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. That's just life being life. Um, but because it was so sudden, it was a shock to me and to my system and to my life and to what I was doing because I was just in it. I was on a hamster wheel in my own like drama cycle of suffering. And I didn't it's like you remember the thing in the playground back in the 80s, like I'm a little older. So like that you'd hang on to and you'd run around and then you jump on and it would just
Oh yeah.
spin. I was on that and I didn't know how to get off, but when my dad died, it threw me off. And I had a real reckoning with myself was like, "Oh my god, if life can just end, if this is it, if this is it, nobody gets out of this alive, it can just end." And I was like, "What am I doing? Why am I wasting this life, this gift that I have, not being happy, not being happy?" And my dad died right before Christmas in 2015. So I took bereavement leave and then they had the holiday break. And I came back in January and I was like, I'm done. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to honor like how cool my dad was and I'm going to honor my life by living the hell out of it. And I was just like, I'm done. And getting up every day and surviving and moving through grief. I was single, I was alone, I was living in Boston, I don't have any family there. And I did it. I got up every day and I did it. And I went to work and I worked out and I ate and I showered. And these are like major accomplishments when you've just gotten the shit kicked out of you. Like I did it. I did it. And I was like, you know what? If I can survive this schizophrenic roller coaster of emotions and pain, I'm a quit and I can survive this 100%. I am brave. I am brave. And I know that if I do not jump without this parachute, I will be stuck here forever. I will be suffocated by these concrete walls in this building, and that's no way to live.
Yeah, at that
So,
point you had
yeah.
had how many
Oh,
years in the classroom?
hold on, what would that stop? I had about 11,
Yeah,
11
so
years.
that's quite an investment at that point. You do feel sort of entrenched, and then you're lacking emotional reserves having lost your father. I can't
Yeah.
believe that you actually made it through a career change after that. I mean, how did you find the resourcing, and what did you do to sort of, shore yourself up to make that transition?
Yeah, well, thank you. I just bet on myself. I think when you go through a major loss that shakes you and it puts your life into perspective, you sort of have like a life yard sale and you put everything out on the lawn and you're like, all right, what's mine? What's working? What's garbage? And I was like, I don't really like anything in my life. There's so much of my life that doesn't bring me actual joy. And I'm like, why is it here? Why is it here? So I made the brave decision and I took like radical responsibility for my life, radical responsibility. Because I was in this thing by myself. I was grieving by myself. I was doing this by myself. And I was like, you know what? I can't blame anybody anymore. I can't blame life for taking my dad. I can't blame this school system for treating me like shit. I can't blame. I'm putting up with it. I'm going in every day and I'm saying, this is what I'm worth. And I was like, nah, I'm worth so much more than this. I'm worth joy. I am worth success. I am worth fun. I am worth rest. I am worth my own vision and creativity. I'm worth having my own agency and self-efficacy. Like I'm worth that. And yeah, I just took a chance. I just took a chance on joy because I knew that where I was wasn't it.
Right. Well, how did you think about what your path might be from there? Did you think about the existing skills did you have? Did you consider going back to school for something else? Were you kind of confused about
Yeah.
where to head?
No, no. So so in grad school, because you try a million different ways to avoid the thing that you need to do, which is like move the fuck on. And so when I was upset and like at my mental breaking point, I was like, you know what? I'll go to grad school. I'll go get my principal's license because maybe that's what I need to do. So like
And
I
did
had
that too.
and
Double
like
down on it. Just double
yeah,
down on the bad decision, right? Like
yeah, because you're like, I can fix it. I could fix it. I'll be a better administrator than this bitch over here. And about 3 months into this program, I was like, I hate this. I hate this so much. And I just remember being like, I want to quit, but I was like, I'm going to do this for the pay raise. I'm going to do this for like the 10 grand that I'm going to get. So, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it. Um, so when it came time to write my thesis, I was already burnt out. I was teaching English, yo. So like I had papers and stacks on stacks and stacks. I had 150 kids, which meant I had 150 assignments to grade every single day because we got to check for understanding, we got to check shit in. And I'm like, physically, I physically cannot like aggregate data on student learning for my thesis. Like I'm gonna take my life if I have to do this. Because at this point, I was now outsourcing grading papers to grad students who were like interns. I was like, I need you to grade this. How much do you want? Here, take it. $200. Awesome. Have fun. Because I just couldn't do it anymore. So when I sat down and I was like, all right, I don't want to grade student work. I don't care, and I mean that with love. Um, I was like, what do I want to do? I was like, I want to work out. I want to move my body. I want to take care of myself. So I was like, all right, I'll start a wellness program, not for the students, for the teachers. So I did. So I rallied like 10 teachers. I was like, hey, does anyone want to participate in because I've been a fitness person. I've been a coach and very into fitness like my whole life, an athlete, played college sports, so whatever. So I emailed the staff and I was like, hey, do you guys want to like work out with me? And they're like, yeah, great. So we're going to the park, we're like working out, and I was connecting like the impact of a wellness program on like student learning and climate and culture. Like when you have healthy teachers, you have successful students. Which should have been a published book, really. Like I was so burnt out by the time I was done with it. I was like, you could burn this. I don't even care. I don't even care. So I already had this like wellness program that I was doing that included mindfulness, that included fitness. And after we were done with the program, I was like, all right, teachers, thanks guys. Appreciate you. See you guys later. And they're like, well, wait, can we keep doing this? And I was like, will you pay me? And they're like, yes. I was like, no shit. You guys are going to pay me to do this? Hell yeah. So then I started running like an illegal fitness program, like in my classroom. Let's shut the door. There's like 5 or 6 teachers. Like we're doing like circuit training and yoga, like in my classroom. And then my dad died. So I was already like, I had this thing. I didn't know that I was going to run with it. It was just like, okay, cool. I like doing this. I get something out of it. I'm working out. It's has nothing to do with students. Like it's for me. So when he died, I was like, I think I'm onto something and I'm ready to roll with this.
Yeah, so it sounds like the grief kind of led you to
Mm-hmm.
have a crystal clear sense of what was important to you and what you needed, finally able to turn your attention
Yeah.
toward yourself and care for yourself, and then this new direction sort of flowed naturally from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I started seeing that I could do things. Like, look what I was creating. And people were thankful. People were grateful. And then I started getting other schools. Word was spreading. So I was at a couple of private schools around Boston, and I was teaching every day at different schools across the city. By the time, like, so I came back in January. So by June of that school year, because I stayed till the end of the school year, I was like, I'm out. I'm definitely going to do this. And
Yeah, so
I did.
oh, go ahead. Yeah, so
None.
what does your business look like now? So, yeah, take us from there to the present.
Yeah. So when I decided, I think it was the natural progression, right? Like I was a teacher for like all of my adult life. So when I quit, it just felt, I did it, it felt like the most comfortable step to still stick within schools and with teachers, because that was like all I knew. That was where, first of all, that's where like all my contacts were. That was like the life I knew, the language I spoke. Like I don't even know what goes on in a school right now. I haven't been there in 6 years, you know? So I got contracts with like 5 different schools around Boston, and I was teaching like a mindful fitness class where we would meditate and then we would like rage the hell out. Like, let's get it out. Like all that emotion and like frustration, like don't let it live inside of you. So it became like a very intentional, very like emotional release type of class. And then I got tired. I was tired of teachers. I was tired of not getting paid what I thought I should be being paid, because that's the plight of schools. And I was tired. And then when I negotiated like a raise, teachers now had to like invest a little bit of money, and everybody stopped showing up. And I don't blame the teachers. Like, I don't think they should have had to pay for it, but the school wasn't willing to. So, I mean, it's a big thing, but I just kept running into the same roadblock that we sort of started this conversation. Like, teachers don't matter. You don't matter. Like, you're not willing to take care of your staff. Like, look at why Google is so damn successful and people want to work there. They have like a whole campus to care for their employees. You know what I'm saying? Beyond just like a pizza party and some donuts in the staff lounge. Like, do shit for them that really improves their health. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it is an investment, and yes, you might have to pull it from the field trip fund, but I'm telling you, if you do that, it's a more forward progressive thinking in the longer term. When you start taking care of your staff isn't going to turn over as much. You're going to have high quality people there. You're going to actually have a line of people out the door who want to work there. The climate and the culture of your school improves, and so will the students. But I mean, I couldn't, like, I'm speaking of this wall in front of me.
Yeah.
So when I kept hitting that wall about like not making this progress within the school and like running into the, I don't have time, we can't afford it. I was like, all right, all right, all right, all right. So I went and I met with like a marketing consultant and a branding consultant, like a company. And I was like, hey, I have this thing that I do. I don't want it to just be for teachers. Like, how do we make it like a class and a brand? And that's what I did. I took the class that I was doing and named it and branded it, and it's called Sweat Remix, and it's a remix of fitness and mindfulness. It allows us to be a remix of a person where you can be like calm and centered and then also like raging out athletic. You can be emotional, you can be on the spectrum of all the things that it means to be human. You can be a remix of everything. You don't have to fit in that like little teacher box of like being smiley and nice all the time, because that's not realistic. It's not fucking realistic. So yeah, so I've been operating Sweat Remix now for 3 years. I have a virtual company, and I just actually opened up my very first studio like last week. Yeah,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So the brand has expanded from fitness classes to incorporate more like emotional life coaching, ways to kind of use movement to tap into yourself, to get more confidence, to get more control over your life, and to feel like you are at the center and the driver's seat of your life. So you're not so stressed out. You can manage your stress. You can connect with your central nervous system to get yourself out of fight or flight and into parasympathetic state to make calm, aligned decisions that serve you. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I
That's
love
life
it.
now. Yeah,
And I
thank
think
you.
I have a pretty good sense of, how you developed this passion or how you tapped into it. But what skills did you have to pick up to be able to do this and launch this venture?
Okay, so I know nothing about business. Like I had to just learn it along the way. But I do think that what you bring to the table as a teacher is so valuable. There's not even a price tag you could put on it, because not everybody can do this. Not everybody can commandeer a ship of reluctant kids and you create relationships, you create memories, you're aware of the energy and the needs of people. I think teachers have the core essence to be able to do anything, which is understanding the human emotions and the human condition. So that is always at the core. What I don't know, you can Google anything. You can Google anything. I probably have a business degree from Google, just like Googling like SEO and marketing funnels and accounting. And I invest. I have an accountant, I have a business coach, I have an SEO and website developer. I am working with a PR agency right now. So there's things that I get to now say, you know what, I don't want to do that. That's not a good use of my time, so I'm going to not do it and focus on what I'm good at and hire somebody else.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
did
I
you
suck at
bootstrap
accounting.
it or did
Yeah.
you get investors? Oh, wow.
No, I bootstrapped all of this.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, it
All of
makes
this.
sense though. As teachers, we really do figure out how to make
You're
things work with
resourceful.
limited resources.
You're resourceful. You know what I mean? You have to be. And I didn't want to get investors because I wanted this to be mine.
Yeah, total control.
I wanted this to be mine. I think because of the reason why I decided to jump, like I just want to honor my dad. Like, look, dad, I'm doing it. I did it myself.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is so important. That has to be something that, takes you through every day.
Yeah.
There's so much to
Yeah.
do as a business owner. And I do want to know, what does a typical day look like for you now?
Whatever I want it to look like. Yeah. So I think the biggest shift, I mean, every day is a little different depending on when I have clients and when I have classes and stuff. But what I will say that is consistent and that completely changed my life, like after leaving teaching, I do not start my day in chaos anymore. I'd have to be at work by 7:10, not 7:11. You're going to get written up if you're there at 7:11. I get up around 7 a.m. I have my coffee. I like chill for a second. And then I go about my day. Like I get to start my day like it's mine versus like, oh shit, I gotta go. I gotta beat traffic. I have to be there. I gotta get to the copy machine because it broke yesterday and I gotta be the first one there. And then I have to make sure that, and then as soon as the bell rings, there's a whole litany of questions from kids who don't know what they're like. It's too much. It's too much. So being able to start my day from a place that's grounding and calm has been the most significant game changer in my life. My day belongs to me.
Yeah, that's so much healthier.
Yeah, yeah. And then from there, um, sometimes my clients, and I also am able to schedule like different days for different things. Like I don't take clients on Monday because Monday is like a full work day. Because I think what's exhausting, and to anybody just listening, is going from like planning energy to like social energy to management energy, back to planning, back to social. And it's like a high and low, and just switching in and out of those energies is exhausting. So I try to like compartmentalize what I need to do. So on Mondays is like a work day where I'm like emailing, I'm invoicing, I'm planning, I meet with my coach, I meet with my team. Like I don't, because I can't like go teach a class or a client and then come back and like plan emails. It's just two different brains that I have to use,
Yeah.
and it burns me out. So yeah, usually I start my day around 8:30 and I'll take clients in the morning and I'll have a break in the afternoon. And then I teach classes at night.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have thought a lot about that energy management piece of the
100%.
puzzle. No one talks about that. It's all about
No.
time management and being aware of how you use your time, but your energy awareness is
Yes.
more impactful than that. How are you going to get anything done if you're not in the right, protecting your energy in the right frame of mind, intentional about
Yeah.
how you structure your day around your rhythms and your needs?
Yeah. And on the days that you're tired, or on the days that you like just have a headache or like didn't eat well, or there was like political unrest with whatever you're experiencing, or family stuff, or just life, like to give yourself a little bit of grace to be able to shift and move your daily tasks around like what your body is feeling. And I think that's sort of what my business is about too. I have to honor that as well. Like I encourage you to get connected to yourself, to tap into your energy and just and really get aware of what it is that you need. Slow down for a second, start your day from a place of calm and say, what do I need? What can I give myself right now? And rather than being forced into the tornado, it's okay to pull back and be like, that's not for me today, tomorrow, or ever. That's okay too.
It's so powerful.
That's okay too. That's okay too. Everybody's quitting tomorrow. No, I was kidding.
I mean, there
But
is something going on, something of a movement.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Because
what
I
what
think
advice do you have for teachers that are maybe curious about the entrepreneurial possibility for their next chapter?
I think entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Um, it takes a real bold and brazen person to fail every day and still be connected to it. So I think I will say this, if you're using entrepreneurship thinking that it is going to be an easy way out, pause. If entrepreneurship is for you because you have a deep burning desire within you that you can't imagine not executing this thing. I can't imagine not doing what I'm doing right now. If you ask me what's my dream job, this is it. I mean, obviously I'd love to be making $1 million, but that's going to come, but I think I'm doing it. So I think entrepreneurship is definitely connected to a vision, like a higher purpose that you feel connected to, not for the money, because that takes a long time to come. Not because you want to work for yourself, because you actually oftentimes have a job, not a business, because you're doing most of the work. So yeah, I think entrepreneurship is best served when it's connected to your vision.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And what advice do you have if folks don't really know what their vision is? We stuff ourselves, our needs down for so long as teachers. I think we become disconnected. What would you say to a teacher that really needs an opportunity to get in touch with that passion.
Pause. Because I think if we're making a decision from a state of fear or fight or flight, then you might as well just stay where you are. It's not serving you. So what you have to do is be able to calm yourself, sit and listen, because that gut instinct, that inner knowing, that rumbling within you, the tightness in your chest, the knots in your stomach, that is the denial that you're not listening to. Like, listen to it. The more you stuff it down, the stronger it's going to feel. So I think the first step is to slow down and listen and think about, what is it that you want to do every day? I sat in my classroom when I came back from bereavement leave, and I came back in January. I was like, what do I want to do every day? And I made a list. And on that list was seriously 5 things. I want to move my body every day. I want to be outside. I want to be with my dog. I want to eat good food. And I want to be around people who want to be around me. That was like, and you know what? That hasn't changed in 6 years. And I looked around and I was like, yo, no wonder I'm miserable. I'm not doing any of this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got real honest and slowed down for a second and said, well, what do I want? What is it that I want to do every day? I couldn't make that decision rushing around, because it was hard to suss out what it was that was mine and what was the expectation that I was trying to fulfill. Those two things were intertwined because I was going a million miles an hour.
And there's so much about our lives as teachers too, when we're going through the education system ourselves, and then beyond, if we're doing advanced degrees, which so many of us do for those pay
Yeah.
bumps or whatever it might be, that we aren't really taking the time to reflect and say, what do I want? It's just sort of this inertia. And one thing I tell my clients to do is look back over the highest and lowest points in your
Absolutely.
life, and what do those things have in common? And I had to, it sounds simple, but I took a few hours doing this, and I said, I love working with people. All the
Yeah.
high points, I was working with people. All the low points, I was feeling isolated. So that told me I really want to work with others. I don't want to do, completely solo work. Stuff where I was doing art and creative stuff. So I knew I wanted to be a problem solver and like create something. So yeah, I think that's really great advice. But I do wonder how you found the confidence to do this, and if there was self-doubt in the beginning.
No. Self-doubt of like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, I keep hearing, should I stay or should I go? I just don't know.
That's your answer. Look, I mean, if you were in a relationship with somebody, okay, and your partner was like, I don't know, should I stay with them or should I not? You'd be
Yeah.
like, well, leave, get out. If you don't love me 100%, then leave. Like that, come on. It's the same thing. So if you're having that dialogue with yourself, like, is it right? Is it not? If it's not fuck yes, then it's a no.
Yeah.
Then it's a no. And I think at some point, there has to be responsibility that I am in control of my choices. And if you are going to go to a job that you hate, then you sure as shit better stand in it and say, I am choosing this. And if you don't want it, then choose something else. You are not a victim of your life. You are not a victim of your circumstance. You are powerful as hell. And the second that you realize that is when all the doors will open up for you.
Yeah.
And when you're asking me like, how did I have the confidence? I just chose it. I just chose it. I took control of my life and I said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And I hope that folks listening will realize like that's something to do before you reach the point of burnout. Don't back yourself into, this is my only option is to go forward. Do it from that place in your heart that you're describing, where it's really coming from a desire to protect yourself and live the life you want.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I love that. And yes, I would love to be able to inspire somebody before it got to the point where I was having like literal mental breakdowns in the classroom. However, There are people who learn from the touch of a feather, and there are people who learn from the weight of bricks. I am a bricks kind of gal. So it took me, I wasn't listening, right? It took me a while to listen to the world being like, hey girl, you're not happy. Are you going to do anything about it? And I'm like, shut up. I'll be fine. I'll fix it. And then another something would happen that would like rock me. And then it just kept getting worse over time until the thing that rocked me, I couldn't deny it anymore. Like that was when I was willing to listen, is when like my world was wrecked. Was my world was wrecked.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it has to happen sometimes.
Yeah, some people are just like, oh, after I left after a year, and I'm like, good for you. Like, good for you for no. And some people just are able to do that. Some of us
Yeah.
stay for 11 years. You know, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I did
How long were
4.
you staying? Yeah, 4. See, that's what I'm saying. That's great. That's
Well,
great.
I knew that the stat was like teachers leave after 3 years, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be a mere statistic, you know. I'll
Yeah,
stay 4 years, one more year just to really, ground in the pain and suffering.
yeah. And I will say this because I think sometimes people are like, oh, well, I don't know if I should or I shouldn't. I'm worried about money. Yo, those golden handcuffs and that stability is really hard to walk away from. And I don't have any children. I don't have any responsibilities except for me. So I know that I'm speaking from a different place than a lot of people. However, get really clear, stability wasn't important to me. It wasn't. Routine wasn't important to me. When I decided to leave, freedom, creativity, self-worth, those were the things that I needed to connect with. I felt trapped with stability. I felt trapped.
Yeah.
And I also lived in one of the most expensive cities in the country, in the world, and made it work. I made it work. I didn't move. I didn't change my lifestyle too much. But I realized like the money that I was making in this expensive city to pay for the apartment and to go out and do all these things was just a way to distract me from actually the fact that I wasn't happy. So once I left, like I think I made like 70% less than what I was making, and I made it work. I made it work. I didn't go
Yeah.
into too much debt. I just got really clear because I didn't need to go and spend money frivolously the way that I was because I was happy. I was broken
Mm.
happy. I was broken happy.
Yeah, and I'm sure, everything crystallized for you too, just given that, you're working toward your passion, and that will carry you and help
Yeah.
you tighten the purse strings or whatever it is you have to do.
Yeah, it wasn't, yeah, you're right, because it wasn't necessary. Like I didn't need to go get my hair done because I didn't need to look a certain way because I was like, whatever, I am great with my roots showing. I'm
It's so
great.
nice to not worry about that anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Have
need to go
like
out and get a new outfit. I'm literally wearing an elastic waist, It's not that serious.
all day, every day.
All day, every day. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation. Are
Thank
there any
you.
final words that you want to leave my listeners with? Teachers that are maybe on the fence, teachers that maybe don't quite have the confidence to make a big change?
Yes, I just want you to look at your life in 3 months if you don't make the decision that you want to make for yourself, in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years. And if you stay at this job and in this position for 3 more months, will it get you to where you want to go? If the answer is no, and bet it all on yourself. Bet it all on yourself and take brave action and radical responsibility for your choices. I'm living proof that it it will work out. It's hard, but it's the best journey that I've ever been on, and I wouldn't change it at all. And I'm so glad that I took a chance to jump. So glad. Because I couldn't imagine just wasting one more second of my life not being happy. I just couldn't do it. So why would you waste 3 more months, 6 more months, another year, taking away from your life and your family and your kids and your friends and your dreams and your goals? You can't ever get that time back. ever. You can lose the weight, you can gain the weight, you can lose the money, you can make the money. All that stuff comes and goes, but not time.
Mm,
Not time.
that's so true.
You know,
Well,
and your collagen and your collagen in your skin. That's
oh, yeah.
that goes too.
Yeah, crucial. Well, tell everybody where they can find you and what you've got going on right now. I know a lot of teachers probably need what you have on offer.
Yes, please just come through. Come hang out, message me. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, even though I'm like a elder millennial up on the TikTok. I don't really know what I'm doing, but and Facebook, all on Sweat Remix. So if you search that, I'll come up, and you can go to sweatremix.com. I offer live classes, on-demand classes, breakthrough sessions where we would talk one-on-one. So if you're at that like impetus point when you're like, I'm ready, we can kind of hash out what that would look like. And if you just need a cheerleader to cheer you on, sign up and book one with me, and you will have the support for you to give yourself permission to do the thing that you've been wanting to do. Like, I got you, I got your back. And then depending on when this airs, I have some things going on in January, which is like a full 8-week program. So if you're really ready to dive in and get mindful and get clear and start taking back control of your life and your time, and to manage your stress so that you're not in that fight or flight state all the time, we'll do it through movement, through fitness, through mindfulness. And it's an 8-week Mind Body Elevate course. So that's also going live in January.
That sounds like perfect timing for any teachers that are planning to make a transition after this school year, this next school year, after this school year ends.
Yeah.
You know, take care of yourself, do some discovery and exploration at the beginning of the year, and figure it out for 2024.
Yeah, because if you're making the decision, oh God, I don't want to go back in September. If you had that revelation and that reckoning with yourself like October 5th, let's chat, because we'll get you set up so that by September you are in a direction and on a trajectory out of the classroom in a way that feels aligned and good, and you feel connected to that purpose. You know, it's something I would suggest starting to do like now. How do you make a plan?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll put all of the information in the show notes for everyone. But thank you so much. This has been invaluable and such a cool perspective, something really different and inspiring.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to share my story. And like I said, if this could be somebody's survival guide to get out, my job is done. My job is done.
I love it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
To catch all the latest from Julie, check out whatsnextteacher.com or follow up on social media at What's Next Teacher across all platforms.
Thanks again, and see you next time.